you all for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about moving your small business clients to a real ERP system. And this webinar is presented by the Ativo Group. So who is Ativo? Just to give you a little background, we were founded in 1993, and we currently have 26 employees and over 250 customers nationwide and in several foreign countries. We have 3 offices in the US, located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in Conyers, Georgia, and Irvine, California. And although we have worked with other ERP systems such as Macola and Sage, currently we are value-added resellers for SAP Business One, Acumatica, NetSuite, and a couple others. We specialize in ERP selection, in ERP implementation, and ERP optimization. And we consider ourselves a full service organization, including private cloud hosting, training, support, and customization, in addition to the sales and implementation of ERP software. So today, our speaker is the one and only Len Rio. He is our president and founder of Ativo. He originally came from Rhode Island, where he got his bachelor's degree in accounting from Providence College, after which he completed his MBA in finance from Cal Poly Pomona, and he is APIC certified. He began his career working for a leading food manufacturing company that was facing the same challenges that your clients are dealing with today, which is solving operational inefficiencies and reporting issues. Having found the passion for problem solving and solving business problems with best practices and the latest technologies, he started a company called Ativo. Len is going to take over from here, and if you have any questions throughout this presentation, please just drop it in the chat and we'll go through them at our Q&A portion at the end.
Thank you, Emily. So the mission of the Ativo Group is dedication to guiding and educating our customers in utilizing information technology to gain competitive advantage through efficiencies so that they can significantly increase their bottom line profits. Our clients remain with us for many years since we continue to add value to their business. In fact, one of our biggest clients has been working with us since 1993. We value a very high degree of professional collaboration so that we can best serve the needs of our clients' businesses. That means between the colleagues here at Ativo that come from various backgrounds and domain knowledge, as well as the people we partner with, such as fractional CFOs. What you will learn today is that we work with the same type of clients that you do, and we can be very strong referral partners for one another. We need your help, and we can help you grow your practice with new clients. When it comes to an ERP project, our clients need our collaboration for their success. So put yourselves in the shoes of our typical clients. They don't have the skills and knowledge that we have, which they need to succeed and flourish. You are here to learn more about helping them utilize technology and how we will work together to help our clients. So you might ask, who do we like working with? Well, besides customers who actually pay their bills on time, we really enjoy strategic partner relationships with fractional CFOs and chief operating officers. Because here's what you bring to the table: financial leadership credibility, operational leadership, and education on this very daunting process. So it's really about client perception. You are considered the financial guys handling important financial tasks, which is more appropriately done by you than those computer guys. Let's get to the subject matter of this presentation. Let's discuss the signs that your clients may need an ERP system. There are lots of them, but let's talk about what I think is the top 5. First is my personal favorite, paper-based processes. We'll explore more of what I mean in just a few minutes. The other way that you can tell that a client may need an ERP system is if all of the information that they present to you or themselves is with an Excel spreadsheet, and they seem to have one for every functional area within the business. I also like to ask people, for example, how do they spend their week? How many hours do they spend during each week performing each task that they're required to perform? Often, a business owner will express that they fear growing further because they may lose control. And if a company is losing business as a result of not meeting quality standards or on-time delivery requirements, it is also a red flag that they probably need an ERP system. So let's drill into this a little further. My personal favorite, let's drill into those paper processes and understand why this is so important. Whenever you see rows of file cabinets and lots of paper stacked up, you know that someone needs to file them or refile them. And if someone needs those unfiled documents, I wish them a lot of luck. The handling of paper is probably one of the most inefficient things that any business can do as compared to using digital files. Studies have shown a minimum of a 15% productivity improvement when employees can utilize two monitors, one with source documents easily retrieved from their system, and the other monitor being used to perform whatever task they need to do. And as far as paper goes, when it comes to audits, paper documents create long audit processes where document retrieval and perhaps assembling in a spreadsheet is required. Looking for misplaced documents is often the biggest source of wasted resource time in a paper world. It's one of those hidden time thieves. If you were able to add up all the wasted resource time used just to find documents, it would be shocking. Moving from a paper world to an online workplace is a significant part of the digital transformation that we hear so much about. And an ERP system is how we can enable that important change. Spreadsheets. I have been involved in a lot of ERP implementations, and I can safely tell you that Excel is by far the most widely used ERP system in the world. I've seen some incredibly complex worksheets that people have designed for tasks such as planning and inventory control. I've seen people replicate MRP logic using Excel. Now, these are hardworking, intelligent people spending their time to recreate what an ERP system is designed to do, but without the benefit of real-time data from a single system. Data replication is the other issue that happens with spreadsheets, since multiple people typically need to work with the same information on their own worksheet for some other purpose. The data on these multiple spreadsheets is input at different times and perhaps from multiple sources. And then too much time is spent in meetings comparing notes where the data doesn't match. So wherever you see Excel being used for the main source of decision-making, it is a sure sign that the company needs an ERP system. Now, for those of you that are students of lean management principles, a key foundation is that high-value employees should be focused on high-value tasks, not clerical functions. I was recently involved in an implementation where the VP of operations was coming into the office at 4:30 a.m. so that he would have enough time to key in the sales orders that had been entered on their e-commerce site the previous day. That typically took about 2 hours if there were no issues with the orders. So generally he was ready to begin managing production at 7 a.m. I wonder how much better operations would run if he was spending that time optimizing the production plan instead. So their website was obviously not integrated with their order entry system. Lack of integrated systems is another one of those signs that tell you that they need an ERP system. Not to get back on the paper process or Excel soapbox again, but I think we would all agree that recreating data on a spreadsheet or spending time looking for a paper document is not a high-value task. Yet, all levels in the organization can wind up doing just that. A few words about growth. I think everyone would agree that a growing business is a good thing. Everybody loves growth and profitability. Most business owners fear losing control during high growth periods, and rightfully so. It is a terrible feeling to disappoint customers that you work very hard to get because you can't deliver on time or you have overpromised delivery quantity. This can easily happen without the tools to provide the planning capability or forward visibility to manage the outcomes. And from an accounting perspective, we all know that business growth consumes cash. And if not calculated correctly, it could become a bigger problem than the profitability that we were going to achieve via that growth. An ERP system will allow us to stay in control during that growth. By simply asking, have you turned away any business lately? And listening to the reasons why that happened is a great way to determine if an ERP system will help. We just don't have the capacity. Might really mean we just don't have the process efficiency that we need to handle more business. Efficiency always increases capacity. Being able to do more with the same resources, such as getting enough quotes out in a timely manner or being able to confidently quote lead times. By far, the biggest loss leader for most businesses is inability to optimize scheduling. This happens as a result of lacking the tools that allow the visibility to be able to plan to meet a deadline required. This is a sure sign that an ERP system can help. Lack of adequate inventory visibility is also a strong indication that considering an ERP system is in order. Most ERP systems have a tool called Available to Promise, which is used to manage more complex inventory scenarios, such as where there are multiple warehouses, long supplier lead times, or lots of order commitments spanning a significant period. Throw in some manufacturing lead time on top of those factors, and managing without an ERP system becomes just an educated guess. And what I have seen in my experience is that whenever this situation presents itself, they typically have a management mandate to quote 13 weeks just to be safe. Well, this makes earning business very difficult where the competition can confidently promise 6 weeks. Let's move on to the ERP selection process. I'll be honest, we lose a lot more ERP sales opportunities than we win. No big surprise. But you will be very surprised at who our largest competitor is. And spoiler alert, it's not another ERP provider. Over 60% of the ERP selection initiatives that we and others like us are involved in wind up the same way. No decision or a deferred project. That's a lot of wasted resources, and high value resources at that. I'd like you to pay close attention to the next few slides because this is where you can really add value in guiding the client. So let's take a closer look. On this slide, we see the typical method that most companies use in selecting an ERP system. They recognize that they may need an ERP system, and somehow they hear about 4 or 5 software applications. They call these companies, or maybe a value-added reseller, depending on what website link they clicked on or whatever. They immediately request a demo. Then they sit through 4 boring demos that are at least 2 or 3 hours or more. I've actually seen them go multiple days. And after these demos, they attempt to compare notes about what they liked or disliked. Then they request proposals from all or most of those companies. Those proposals come in with different approaches and scopes of work. And then they attempt to compare the apples and the oranges as they attempt alignment. After some serious head scratching, they put the decision off for a few weeks. At the end of a couple of weeks, they finally decide to do nothing and revisit this next quarter, or after the first of the year, or whatever feels like a real but non-committal timeframe. At the bottom of this slide, I did some simple math to determine what those efforts of trying to select an ERP system cost them, after which they decided to do nothing. I think I underestimated this cost, but it is 100% waste. Let's discuss some of the reasons why the typical selection method fails, resulting in no decision, or even worse, a bad decision. These apples and oranges I spoke about are real. Some ERPs that can do the same job are very different from one another. Examples include deployment method, cloud-based or on-premise. Licensing models differ. Some applications are per user licenses, some are activity-based and allow for unlimited users. There are many more examples like this that factor into a decision. But then comes the pressure to buy. If you requested 3 proposals, you can be sure that there will be 3 hungry salespersons hounding you with phone calls with time-sensitive special deals. Management is left with a lot of anxiety over all of this. Looking the other way over such a major organizational change would not be very prudent at this time. And if they don't have a clear roadmap of what they're trying to change in their company and what the project's objectives are, how can they possibly make the right decision? And let's not leave out fear of a potential project failure. That's a real thing. And that can be there because the preparation for this decision just wasn't there beforehand. The good news is that there is a better way. I know that you're going to think that what I'm going to say is a little self-serving, but it's appropriate to engage a consultant to assist on the upfront process of what needs to happen to confidently get to and arrive at a successful selection decision. What must happen first is that the major business processes of the company need to be mapped out to determine the key value drivers. In other words, what stream of activities creates value in the marketplace that people are willing to pay money for? Seems pretty simple, but it's all overlooked in the minutia of, oh, we need 6 decimal places. So we, that's us consultant types, can then be able to recommend the potential ERP solutions that would best fit that particular type of business extremely well. As I said before, not all the ERPs are the same. Even the ones that we work with that supports a manufacturing or a wholesale distribution company differ significantly from one business model to another. So once this first step is completed, the value-added reseller or the software company can review this process map and tailor the workshop demos to confirm that the application handles those key value streams extremely well. Then and only then can you move to finalizing proposals and contracts and considering all the factors such as cost, implementation team, and so forth about the decision. Once proposals and contracts are out of the way, that's when client preparation can start, which is something that is largely going to involve our strategic partners, such as yourselves. I'm going to get into that in a minute to show how we will shorten the implementation timeline through such preparation. And by the way, with the implementation roadmap prepared, the whole implementation is pretty far down the road already, because the system blueprint has already been done using this approach. So the goal of performing the ERP selection process that we have just described is a successful ERP selection business decision. Using this methodology, there will be clear goals of what we're trying to accomplish as a company. There will be a much more complete solution that will be crafted and proposed, and the project scope itself will be much tighter. Far fewer project change orders will happen, and certainly the client will be more prepared. In this way, we can have data to work with and roles defined so that the project timeline can be shortened significantly. This has a positive impact on the overall project cost and significantly lowers the project risk overall. So just to touch on a few of the tools that are available through Ativo. The key tool that we use in an implementation is called the Business Process Assessment, or BPA. This is one of the tools that we have developed over the years, which took a lot of development to get to the right kinds of questions aligned for each business function. It's a result of a lot of successful implementation efforts. This is an online tool where the client can collaborate with the consultants. This is a tool where we are looking at the business like it was a machine and how it should be operating, utilizing best practices to support the critical value streams of that particular business. The key deliverable in using the business process assessment is the roadmap for process improvement. The other tool that we utilize is the system user analysis, since we need to understand how the users are currently doing their jobs to support the organization. And the key deliverables from that is a user training plan, along with the very, very important change management plan. The system is going to be used by each of those users, and we need to transition them from inefficient or manual processes to utilizing more sophisticated tools. And in some cases, their job description may even change. A good example of that is how the job of the VP of operations from my previous example now had more time and tools to better plan operations than spend his time entering e-commerce orders. So each individual has to be addressed specifically to determine those processes or functions that will change for those users. So let's talk about what we call a proof of concept. Sometimes it's appropriate to perform a proof of concept. This is particularly true if a prospect insists on considering more than one application. Our job working together with the prospect is to identify perhaps those two or top three, if we need even that many, and then go about proving that one or the other makes more sense based on the support of those key value streams of the business. So this kind of effort is done as a paid engagement. And ordinarily they cost something like $5,000 to $10,000. But it's done with a dedicated, clean system that is configured specifically for the client. In fact, it's intentionally configured for that way based on the system blueprint in order to be reused for the future production environment. So that cost is really shifted from the implementation to the proof of concept. It uses client data, not demo data like would have been used in a demo workshop. The client and consultants work together to perform a day in the life of transaction scenarios to prove that our assumptions about a particular solution can be confirmed. We involve the client so that they can feel comfortable with their fingers on the keys, so to speak. I think it's also important to discuss the approach that we take towards the ERP implementation and the major milestone activities of the project. On this slide, what you are seeing is pretty much a diagram of implementation 101. We mentioned the business process assessment, that process improvement plan that tells us how we are going to implement best practices for operating a particular business. It also tells us how to configure the software to support those particular requirements. And one of the deliverables from that effort is called a system blueprint, which is the way that all of the flags and configuration settings should work for that customer. Concurrently, we're looking closely at how the users are working today in order to determine the change management plan and the user training plan. We are then in a position to execute the user training plan and get to a point where we are performing a pilot test or user acceptance test, as it is sometimes called, prior to going live. This is a little more detail of how the process assessment itself is executed. As I mentioned, this is an online analysis tool. And as you can see on the left side, there are all of the business functions such as accounts payable, accounts receivable, budgeting, and so on. All aspects of the business are included. There's 30 plus different business functions involved. And there are 20 to 30 questions within each one of those business functions. There we will describe exactly how they are currently operating and what issues they're running into as a result of doing business in that way. We are also capturing the potential process improvement opportunities, either recommended by the client themselves or brought to the table by the consultant, that means you and I, that we can take advantage of during this implementation. There's a lot more to this online worksheet to the right side, such as project tasks and priority and maybe a consideration for what phase of the implementation this should be done. But the real key is that once we have the process improvement opportunities identified, we can then prioritize them to come up with an overall plan of implementation. So the user analysis is done on a person-by-person basis, as I mentioned, and it's important to capture all of the key tasks that they do each day and approximately how much time is required to do that task during their typical work week. We can then work from here to identify the new processes that may be required and support them for that change with their new system. And that would be done through that change management plan and through the user training plan. A little word about user training. The most often heard cause of an ERP implementation failure is lack of user training. Here at Ativo, we've adopted a multifaceted approach to end user training. Training begins with the Ativo Academy, which we have developed using an online learning management platform where courses are assigned to users based on that user's role in the organization. Each of these courses has a series of lessons within it that are made up of a training video, a written training guide with screenshots and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by an exercise meant to be done in the software in their test company so that the trainee can actually accomplish that function. Then there's a brief multi-question quiz to make sure that they understood the material. Once the trainee has completed the academy, where there was assigned lessons, where we have visibility into whether or not they completed those lessons or not, then we can move them to the live Q&A session with a consultant where advanced topics or unique requirements can be discussed. Training isn't over yet. The next opportunity for user training happens during the pilot test, where each and every user will be required to perform a day in their life to make sure that the system is configured properly, working properly, all documents are printed correctly, and they are prepared to do their jobs. It's quite all right at this point if something minor pops up. Maybe it wasn't brought out during the initial discovery, but it can be handled right then and there and a process defined, and the user can practice and we can round out the implementation at that point. So you're probably wondering how we partner with fractional CFOs for projects such as an ERP selection and implementation project. Let's take a look. First of all, you might be asking, well, where do these projects come from? A lot of the projects will come through us, as we do a lot of marketing to manufacturers, distributors, e-commerce, and service companies. Those companies range anywhere from 2 to 75 million in revenues, much like your clients do. We work nationwide, and we continue to gain new customers that need your help. We want to introduce you into these projects as the financial leadership in these critical client projects to ensure their success. Projects can also come from you, as many of your existing clients need better systems, and you may already know about that, or based on what you learned today or in our follow-up conversations, you can identify those issues that can be solved with an ERP system. I won't get back on the paper bandwagon, but that's going to be the most glaring opportunity to start recommending an ERP solution. So your referral to Ativo will create a significant project for you, but either way the project comes to us, you will have an independent billing relationship with the client. We insist that it happens that way. You might also be wondering, well, what is it that we'll need to be doing during a project? No, the real answer is anything that you feel competent to do. And what we really hope is that you would begin working with us at the beginning to complete the discovery and that business process assessment. And if we need to do a demonstration, we don't always have to do demonstrations, that you would help us prepare those demo scenarios and coordinate with the client, both during the ERP selection process, as well as during the implementation project. But we really need you starting with the financial systems design. I can't tell you how many times I've walked into a mess of accounting during an ERP implementation that requires cleanup prior to any cutover being able to take place, or even before training can take place. We would like to have you involved in that, along with the pilot testing and the go live, as there are plenty of things to do to ensure a successful and timely close, such as ensuring a timely and a comprehensive close, month-end close in the old system, So we can bring over just basic things like a trial balance, translated to a new chart of accounts, inventory, quantities on hand and costs, receivables and payables that actually tie out to the trial balance. Most customers I have found don't even understand what it means when I say, does your aging tie out to the general ledger? They go, oh, absolutely. And I look at them and they're $50,000 apart. All this is done with your relationship with the customer at your rate and your invoicing. So there's help. We'd like to help you in any which way we can certainly do in order to build some strong relationships so that we can have some repeat business with many of you. But we're here to provide training on the ERP selection consulting effort, and so that you can be familiar with that process and the steps that we go through. We can drill down further into implementation management. We can provide you with training on ERP systems that we support, such as SAP Business One and NetSuite and Acumatica and so forth, and any other type of help that we can provide. Consider marketing. We can help you by just helping you build your business a little further and do some direct marketing yourself. We can provide those marketing materials that are branded with your company and even assist with getting those emails out and or scheduling webinars and so forth. So let's talk about next steps. First of all, if we don't know each other already, let's plan to take a little time to jump on the phone and get to know each other. So schedule a call with us. On this slide is both my contact information as well as that of Marla Malkin, who is our VP of Strategic Partnerships. We'd love to get to know you and the kind of client base you work with and the kind of projects that you like to work on. We're also really interested in the domain knowledge, the kind of industries that you work in, so that as opportunities come up, we can find just the right person for that specific industry or that specific situation. At this time, we'd like to open it up to our Q&A portion of the webinar. I'm going to hand it back to Emily.
Thank you so much, Len. Yeah, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or in the Q&A section, and we can try to get some answers for you. If you want to directly contact us, there's everyone's emails right here. You can go to our website or just shoot us a private message or an email at marketing@ativoerp.com. We do have a couple questions in the queue, Len. The first question is, how much time does a fractional CFO commit to a project like this?
Well, the answer is, it's a very good question. It depends on how much of the scope of the things you saw on the other slide you can contribute to. It could be as little as 60 or 70 hours spread over a month and a half or so, or it could be upwards of 120 hours over a three-month period. But there's quite a bit of work to be done during an implementation. And the more hands we have, the further along we're going to get, and the more successful the ERP implementation will be.
Thank you, Len. Second question is, which ERP applications do you currently work with?
So we currently work with a number of what I call legacy systems. Macola is one of those. Exact Globe is another. But currently, as it relates to new installations, those applications aren't really recommended very much at all. What we are very much involved with is SAP Business One, with Acumatica, with NetSuite, and Microsoft Dynamics 365. Those four applications are very much aligned with the industries that we support: manufacturing, wholesale distribution, e-commerce, and certain types of service industries. That's why we work with them. And they make up perhaps 80% of the installed base of ERP for those types of industries.
All right, so that's all that we have time for today. Remember, a recording of this presentation will be sent out in the next 24 hours, so just keep a lookout for that in your inbox. Thank you again. Thank you, Len, for presenting today. If you have any questions, please connect with us at ativoerp.com, and we will see you next time. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful day.